So the first part of this meeting will be recorded where we cover APIs, but the rest of it, starting with the project overview, will not be recorded because we're going to be going into our project. Sort of what we've been leading up to so far with all of our videos. If you haven't seen them, please watch them. It's very important that you know that stuff. We can build on top of that. So today I wanted to do a little bit of a review on APIs, as well as learning a little bit more about APIs, because hint, hint, it's going to be a big part of the project. So we're going to be using Axios. So Axios is a library. Anything that you can use JavaScript, you can use Axios with. Axios is fantastic. It makes your life easier. If you recall, when we had our original project, we had to deal with some very annoying things like having multiple promises chained together. One to actually get the request, and then one for chaining it into converting it to JSON, which is like really weird. And obviously we had to specify manually sort of our HTTP functions. So yeah, it's really nice. It helps you out a lot when you're trying to program. As it says, less crying, more typing. So anytime that you can cry less and type more, that's a good thing. So we'll be learning a little bit about Axios. So Axios is what they call a modern promise-based lightweight HTTP client, and this is what most people will use. Just because Fetch has some very annoying limitations, as we sort of talked about before. You can use npm to install it. Npm install Axios. You import it. You import it. The import statement will pretty much be the same across all frameworks. And then we're going to be doing an example with React. Just because it's like the first one I picked, no real specific reason. And we'll be using the react.useEffect, which basically means when that component mounts, so before it's shown on the screen, it's going to run some code. So let's open this up and let's look at what we have. All right, we're going to open the React app. Oops, that is not what I wanted to do. New terminal. I forgot what it was for React. Oh. Give me just a second. You actually need to, so fun fact, if you push code for React and you re-download it, you actually do not have the install files for React, which I am just now finding out. Oh, it's npm. That was a big duh on my part.
I think that's down below what we can see, Christian.
Yeah. So when you're opening up a React project, make sure you run npm install.
Yeah, that's
That will download all of the needed dependencies. I completely forgot. It was blinking. All right. Cool. Now we get our site to show up. Could you please work? There we go.
it takes a while.
Yeah. All right.
It takes a while.
So we have the project that we used in the comparison video, and we'll build on this a little bit. So if we run npm install Axios, as we saw before. All right, so we have Axios installed. Let's go ahead and open up our home body here. And we're going to import Axios from Axios. Then down here, React dot what was it? Use effect. So that would all right. Cool. So now whenever we execute any code in here, what do you mean? Let me double check something real quick. It seems I am using this wrong. There we go. All right, and you see it just shows an alert whenever it loads up. For the purposes of this, just think about that it runs as soon as the component loads. So now we're going to go ahead and use our Axios. So Axios is obviously a promise-based is a promise-based plugin. So that means we're going to be using promises, just like we had talked about in the in our discussion originally when we started talking about promises. So promises are fun, kind of annoying, but the nice thing about Axios is it is actually built with modern, with sort of modern async await features, which we will not be using, but it is super nice to have that option when you're trying to figure out or when you're trying to deal with like annoying things, because you can have extremely long like then promises, like then chains. They'll go really crazy. So that is super beneficial. All right, so let's go ahead and look at our API. I believe we had, I think, recbin, is this it? No, this is not it. We had a API that we used originally on one of our original projects. That is not what I wanted to do. Let me go ahead and open that up, because we had a sample API that we used. I am blind. It's in here. I literally just saw it. It's up at the top now. All right, and let me go ahead. Recres.in is the one that we used. All right, Safari has disappeared, has left the building. There we go. If we go to this right here, we'll get a list of users back. Awesome. So we got an ID, an email, a first name, and a last name for some users. So we can actually take that. Let's go ahead and I'm going to get the URL, the one we just used, and then use .then. We will have the response. No, that is not what we need. There we go. And we need to handle the response. So we can actually just console.log the response data. So if we paste that, missing semicolon. And we open it in something that has a nice. By the way, if anybody is using the new macOS update and knows why Spotlight search for applications no longer works, I would be infinitely grateful to know as why that is. Alright, go ahead and move that over here. Localhost 3000. Open the web developer tool, And awesome. So we see our object here. Should already be printing the data. Let me try dot data. Alright, there we go. So now we see that there's an array here. So if we just go through, do res.data.for, or actually we are going to need to create, we're going to be updating this list here. So we have a list and we're going to create some users. So res.data, we'll have to have a list here. Does anybody have any questions about like how I'm getting any of this or what I'm doing? Nope. Alright. So we're going to go through, grab these elements. And then for each of these elements, we're going to add to the updated list dot push. We'll push a new user, which we have defined here. It's just a struct basically, where we'll have our element dot ID, element dot first name, element dot last name, then element dot email. And then once we're done with that, we can call our update list inside of here. Or not inside of here. We want to do this out inside. We still want to do this inside of the promise because we're only going to be updating this whenever we actually get the data back. So if I was to put like update list with the updated list. If I was to put this outside of this promise, then it would literally update the list with actually it would error out because this updated list is defined within the promise, so it gets destroyed whenever it doesn't technically exist yet. But you'll update the list almost immediately. But what we want to do is wait for we get the data back. Then once we get to the data back, we're going to loop through all of the data, create our new list, and then we're going to update the list. So, as you can see right here, we got our users, first and last name, their ID, and then a list of users. Isn't that awesome? Almost like I planned to use it with the exact same API. So awesome. And in here, we can obviously go through and delete it and manage it and stuff like that, just like we did before. So, does anybody have any questions about that? We wrote a very short piece of code here. Literally just as soon as the website, this component loads, we're going to get some data, and then we're going to take that response, go through each element of the response, create a new user, add it to a list, and then change the list. We'll run the update list state element here to update the list with the new list. I know I didn't really cover state and React yet, just because we haven't really decided on which framework and library we're going to be using, but in the future we'll know and I'll be able to cater a little bit more to that. But it's basically the same in all of the and all of the frameworks and libraries. So don't worry about that. Awesome. So you are ready now. You are now ready. Let's learn a little bit about our project. So, if you've been with us for a little while, you'll know that this has all been sort of leading up to a bigger project. We're going to need to decide on framework and stuff like that. And yeah, we'll be working on that from here on out. We'll be separating into teams, and I think it'll be a lot of fun, and we'll be able to get, it should be a very easy project, and I'll get to it in a minute. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, because that is everything important that is not going to be specific to the project. So yeah, if there's any questions about what we just covered, feel free to post them in the comments, or private message me on Discord, whatever you would like to do. Thank you for joining if you're on the recording.